And then we'll go. There we go. Oh, let me move the camera. And there, oh, hey, all right, all right. Get some light up on this. And lights, cameras, action. And go back up here. Oh, don't need to be dealing with the radio DJ. It's working just fine. We got it on pause. And get the Facebook audio video live cast going. You're seeing 4 different scenes. There I am of the John Moriarty studio. It's massive, as you can see. It's Warner Brothers like, it's just or like a county fair. A lot of those buildings were built back in the 30s and the early 40s and into the 50s. And we're massive, just like one of those, har har. And so, no, it's 9 by 12. I know the back wall intimately. I built it. And that is the I built it insulating layer. The Saturday Evening News. And wait, the wrong keyboard. We got 3 of them here, as you can see. Saturday Evening News. And whip it, delete there. Host, HOST, Richard Slezak. Alrighty, can go to the start broadcast. Alrighty-us. And next thing we're going to do is we're just going to haul off and get started with the audition portion. We got 9:24 p.m. here at the voiceofsanjoaquin.org. I am Richard Slezak. It's the Saturday Evening News, episode 28 of the Mueller Report coming right up. And to get that going, we put in the date on its own billboard, and then today is 02-01: the Saturday Evening News. And about to get started in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Slezak here. This is the voice of sanjoaquin.org. We're coming to you over TuneIn, live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. It's the Saturday Evening News, episode 28, The Mueller Report. We're resuming in Volume 2 on page 77, going over to the big table now. Let me migrate on over. As Jimi Hendrix used to say, move over, Rover, let Jimmy take over. And here we go. Uh-oh, are we limited? How limited are we? Okay, we got that. We got one microphone going, so we got this one going. So I'm going to set it down here and kind of lean it in there. And got my HP 15 from home. And paper don't forget, so 9:25 p.m. audition start, and enter in my password. Uh-oh, don't need that. Where did the mouse go? There's the mouse. And Flipto, Converto, and got this downloaded. Downloaded it back in April from the Washington Post. Oh yes, one of the original culprits of the liberal media. I read the book back in 1970 when I was 15 years old. Thing is, the Republicans just didn't like the editing. Too many negative stories about Republicans and not enough positives. Same held true with CBS News. Not quite as high a degree with NBC, but definitely the New York Times. Chicago Tribune, not so bad. The Los Angeles Times was also one of the original liberal media. So with that, LA Times was definitely an enemy of none other than Milhouse, Trump's political daddy. Trump is very Nixonian. There we go. Yeah, 5/27 is when I downloaded it. So that was May 27th. All right, all right, all right. Getting to it. And this is information the Republican Party doesn't want you to know, so here we go. It's sad. Sad commentary on them because, you know, it was led by Barry Goldwater. And Nixon had done 1/10 of the crime that Herr Trump has done. And, oh man, it's a great shot of a microphone, so let's kind of swing that over this way. And okay, that's a little bit better. And you know, August 9th or so, August 8th, 1974, Barry Goldwater just went right over to the White House and said, "It's over, dude. You know, we can't stand by you." Mr. Conservative, Barry Goldwater. Yeah, I remember him. I walked precinct for him in '64 when he was running for president. His running mate, Miller, had been one of the prosecuting attorneys at Nuremberg. Yeah. No, hey, there's my logo. Slezak News and Politics. So I know I'm supposed to have it up set on the screen there for the Facebook and the YouTube, but we have a technical difficulty we're still working on. So today's Republicans ain't yesterday's Republicans. Trump would have been gone. Arrivederci. You know, the House Republicans would have been investigating him more vigorously back, you know, in the 115th Congress. But, oh well, their testimony, not mine. Okay, with that, let's get into the rapid scroll down the page. This thing's a little over 300 pages, and see where we're at here. 49. 57, 72, and I think this should be about it. 76. Oh, radius. Okay, E. President's efforts to remove the special counsel overview, and we're resuming at 9:31 p.m. Page 77, Volume 2, Section E. Pres efforts to remove special counsel overview. The acting Attorney General appointed a special counsel on May 17, 2017, prompting the President to state that it was the end of his presidency and that Attorney General Sessions had failed to protect him and should resign. Sessions submitted his resignation, which the President ultimately did not accept. The President told senior advisors that the special counsel had conflicts of interest, but they responded that those claims were ridiculous and posed no obstacle to the special counsel's service. The Department of Justice ethics officials similarly cleared the special counsel's service. On June 14, 2017, the press reported the President was being personally investigated for obstruction of justice, and the President responded with a series of tweets criticizing the special counsel's investigation. That weekend, the President called McGahn and directed him to have the special counsel removed because of asserted conflicts of interest. McGahn did not carry out the instruction for fear of being seen as triggering another Saturday night massacre and instead prepared to resign. McGahn ultimately did not quit, and the President did not follow up with McGahn on his request to have the special counsel removed. And here is a long footnote. In addition to whether the President, number 500, had a motive related to Russian-related matters that an FBI investigation could uncover, we considered whether the President's intent in firing Comey was connected to other conduct that could come to light as a result of the FBI's Russian interference investigation. In particular, Michael Cohen was a potential subject of investigation because of his pursuit of the Trump Tower Moscow project and involvement in other activities. And facts uncovered in the Russia investigation, which our office referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, ultimately led to the conviction of Cohen in the Southern District of New York for campaign finance offenses related to payments he said he made at the direction of the President. The investigation, however, did not establish that when the President fired Comey, he was considering the possibility that the FBI's investigation would uncover these payments, or that the President's intent on firing Comey was otherwise connected to a concern about these matters coming to light. And, okay. 5/17/2017, Mueller appointed special counsel following weekend Trump tells McGahn to fire Mueller. Trump claims specious conflict of interest. Boom. All righty, on to page 78. Evidence. The appointment of the special counsel and the president's reaction. On May 17, 2017, Acting Attorney General Rosenstein appointed Robert S. Mueller III as special counsel and authorized him to conduct the Russia investigation and matters that arose from the investigation. The president learned of the special counsel's appointment from Sessions, who was with the president, Hunt, and McGahn conducting interviews for a new FBI director. Sessions stepped out of the Oval Office to take a call from Rosenstein, who told him about the special counsel's appointment, and Sessions then returned to inform the president of the news. According to notes written by Hunt, when Sessions told the president that a special counsel had been appointed, the president slumped back in his chair and said, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm fucked." Oh, brother. That's what it says. The president became angry and lambasted the attorney general for his decision to recuse from the investigation, stating, "How could you let this happen, Jeff?" The president said the position of the attorney general was his most important appointment and that Sessions had let him down, contrasting him to Eric Holder and Robert Kennedy. Sessions recalled that the president said to him, "You were supposed to protect me," or words to that effect. The president returned to the consequences of the appointment and said, "Everyone tells me if you get one of those independent counsels, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years, and I won't be able to do anything. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me." Short footnotes on page 78, continuing page 79. The president then told Sessions he should resign as attorney general. Sessions agreed to submit his resignation and left the Oval Office. Hicks saw the president shortly after Sessions departed and described the president as being extremely upset by the special counsel's appointment. Hicks said that she had only seen the president like that one other time, when the Access Hollywood tape came out during the campaign. The next day, May 18, 2017, FBI agents delivered to McGahn a preservation notice that discussed an investigation related to Comey's termination. Woo! And directed the White House to preserve all relevant documents. Wow. And this is 9:43 p.m. FBI to White House. When was that? 5/18. 5/18/2017. Preserve all documents relating to Comey termination. Just doing their jobs. I need a hanky. Oh, shucks. available at any time. Alrighty, folks, I'm back. We get the air circulating through here, and sometimes some dust spores come up. Alrighty. Sessions, okay, also on May 18th, Sessions finalized a resignation letter that stated, pursuant to our conversation of yesterday and at your request, I hereby offer my resignation. Sessions, accompanied by Hunt, brought the letter to the White House and handed it to the President. The President put the resignation letter in his pocket and asked Sessions several times whether he wanted to continue serving as Attorney General. Sessions ultimately told the President he wanted to stay, but it was up to the President. The President said he wanted Sessions to stay. At the conclusion of the meeting, the President shook Sessions' hand, but did not return the resignation letter. When Priebus and Bannon learned that the President was holding on to Sessions' resignation letter, they became concerned that it could be used to influence the Department of Justice. Priebus told Sessions it was not good for the President to have the letter because it would function as a kind of shock collar that the President could use any time he wanted. Priebus said the President had DOJ by the throat. Priebus and Bannon told Sessions they would attempt to get the letter back from the President with a notation that he was not accepting Sessions' resignation. On May 19, 2017, the President left for a trip to the Middle East. Hicks recalled that on the President's flight from Saudi Arabia to Tel Aviv, the President pulled Sessions' resignation letter from his pocket, showed it to a group of senior advisors, and asked them what he should do with it. During the trip, Priebus asked about the resignation letter so he could return it to Sessions, but the President told him that the letter was back at the White House somewhere in the residence. It was not until May 30th, 3 days after the President returned from the trip, that the President returned the letter to Sessions with a notation saying, "Not accepted." And, oh my. 17, 18, Sessions, resignation letter to Trump. Trump holds letter as shock collar over DOJ. Trump returns letter to Sessions 5:30. Trump not accepting Jeff's resignation. Alrighty, going further down page 79, the President asserts that the special counsel has conflicts of interest. In the days following the special counsel's appointment, the President repeatedly told advisors, including Priebus, Bannon, and McGahn, that special counsel Mueller had conflicts of interest. The President cited as conflicts that Mueller had interviewed for the FBI director position shortly before being appointed as special counsel, that he had worked for a law firm that represented people affiliated with the President, and that Mueller had disputed certain fees relating to his membership in a Trump golf course in North Virginia. The President's advisors pushed back on his assertion of conflicts, telling the President that they did not count as true conflicts. Bannon recalled telling the President that the purported conflicts were ridiculous and that none of them was real or could come close to justifying precluding Mueller from serving as special counsel. As for Mueller's interview for FBI director, Bannon recalled that the White House had invited Mueller to speak to the president to offer a perspective on the institution of the FBI. Bannon said that although the White House thought about beseeching Mueller to become director again, he did not come in looking for the job. Bannon also told the president that the law firm position did not amount to a conflict in the legal community. And Bannon told the president that the golf course dispute did not rise to the level of conflict, and claiming one was ridiculous and petty. The president did not respond when Bannon pushed back on the stated conflicts of interest. On May 23, 2017, the Department of Justice announced that ethics officials had determined that the special counsel's prior law firm position did not bar his service generating media reports that Mueller had been cleared to serve. McGahn recalled that around the same time, the president complained about the asserted conflicts and prodded McGahn to reach out to Rosenstein about the issue. McGahn said he responded that he could not make such a call and that the president should instead consult his personal lawyer because it was not a White House issue. Contemporaneous notes of a May 23, 2017 conversation between McGahn and the president reflect that McGahn told the president that he would not call Rosenstein and that he would suggest that the president not make such a call either. McGahn advised that the president could discuss the issue with his personal attorney, but it would look like still trying to meddle in the investigation, and knocking out Mueller would be another fact used to claim obstruction of justice. Oh my, okay. Continuing, page 82, McGahn told the president that his biggest exposure was not his act of firing Comey, but his other contacts and calls and his ask, for example, Flynn. By the time McGahn provided this advice to the president, there had been widespread reporting on the president's request for Comey's loyalty, which the president publicly denied, his request that Comey let Flynn go, which the president also denied, and the president's statement to the Russian foreign minister that the termination of Comey had relieved great pressure related to Russia, which the president did not deny. And on June 8, 2017, Comey testified before Congress about his interactions with the president before his termination, including the request for loyalty, the request that Comey let Flynn go, and the request that Comey lift the cloud over the presidency caused by the ongoing investigation. Comey's testimony led to a series of news reports about whether the president had obstructed justice. On June 9, 2017, the special counsel's office informed the White House counsel's office that investigators intended to interview intelligence community officials who had allegedly been asked by the president to push back against the Russia investigation. On June 12, 2017, Christopher Ruddy, the chief executive of Newsmax Media and a longtime friend of the president's, met at the White House with Priebus and Bannon. Ruddy recalled that they told him the president was strongly considering firing the special counsel and that he would do so precipitously without vetting the decision through administration officials. Ruddy asked Priebus Ruddy could talk publicly about the discussion they had about the special counsel, and Priebus said he could. Priebus told Ruddy he hoped another blow-up like the one that followed the termination of Comey did not happen. Later that day, Ruddy stated in a televised interview that the president was considering perhaps terminating the special counsel based on purported conflicts of interest. Ruddy later told another news outlet that Trump is definitely considering terminating the special counsel, and it's not something that's being dismissed. Ruddy's comments led to extensive coverage in the media that the president was considering firing the special counsel. White House officials were unhappy with the press coverage, and Ruddy heard from friends that the president was upset with him. On June 13, 2017, Sanders asked the president for guidance on how to respond to press inquiries about the possible firing of the special counsel. The president dictated an answer which Sanders delivered, saying, "While the president has every right to fire the counsel, he has no intention to do so." Also on June 13, 2017, the president's personal counsel contacted the special counsel's office and raised concerns about possible conflicts. The president's counsel cited Mueller's previous partnership in his law firm, his interview for the FBI director position, and an asserted personal relationship he had with Comey. That same day, Rosenstein had testified publicly before Congress and said he saw no evidence of good cause to terminate the special counsel, including for conflicts of interest. 2 days later, on June 15, 2017, this is on page 84 now, the special counsel's office informed the acting attorney general's office about the areas of concern raised by the president's counsel and told the president's counsel that their concerns had been communicated to Rosenstein so that the Department of Justice could take appropriate action. Okay, and this was during the time period June 13th, June 8th, June 12th. Yeah, okay. Six, 8 through 13. Trump wants special counsel fired on conflict of interest. / strongly considering. So here as well, June 8th through 13th is a time when he wants to fire, where it's an act of conflict, obstructing justice. Okay, now we're on page 84. The press reports that the president is being investigated for obstruction of justice, and the president directs the White House counsel to have the special counsel removed. On the evening of June 14, 2017, the Washington Post published an article stating that the special counsel was investigating whether the president had attempted to obstruct justice. This was the first public report that the president himself was under investigation by the special counsel's office, and cable news networks quickly picked up on the report. The Post story stated that the special counsel was interviewing intelligence community leaders, including Dan Coats and Rogers, about what the president had asked them to do in response to Comey's March 20th, 2017 testimony, that the inquiry into obstruction marked a major turning point in the investigation, and that while Trump had received private assurances from then FBI Director James B. Comey starting in January that he was not personally under investigation, officials say that changed shortly after Comey's firing. That evening at approximately 10:31 p.m., the president called McGahn on McGahn's personal cell phone, and they spoke for about 15 minutes. McGahn did not have a clear memory of the call, but thought they might have discussed the stories reporting that the president was under investigation. Beginning early the next day, June 15, 2017, the president issued a series of tweets acknowledging the existence of the obstruction investigation and criticizing it. Excuse me, people. Phew. He wrote, they made up a phony collusion with the Russia story, found zero proof, so now they go for obstruction of justice on the phony story. Nice. You're witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. And Crooked H destroyed phones with hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with AG days before she was cleared, and they talk about obstruction. The next day, June 16th, 2017, the president wrote additional tweets criticizing the investigation. After 7 months of investigations and committee hearings about my collusion with the Russians, nobody has been able to show any proof. Sad. And I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt. And alrighty, 6:15, Trump tweets, Russia investigation, witch hunt. And obstruct of justice. Alrighty, what time we getting to have here? Looks like 10 p.m. You are webtuned to the voice of sanjoaquin.org, coming to you over TuneIn and live on YouTube and Facebook. Continuing, this is the Mueller Report, episode 28, and we're on page 85 of volume 2. On Saturday, June 17th, 2017, the president called McGahn and directed him to have the special counsel removed. McGahn was at home and the president was at Camp David. And interviews with his office, McGahn recalled that the president called him at home twice and on both occasions directed him to call Rosenstein and say that Mueller had conflicts that precluded him from serving as special counsel. Oh boy, here we go. And this is page 84, 6:17, Trump calls McGahn, fire Mueller. He and other advisors believed the asserted conflicts were silly and not real, and they had previously communicated that view to the president. McGahn also made clear to the president that the White House counsel's office should not be involved in any efforts to press the issue of conflicts. McGahn was concerned about having any role in asking the acting attorney general to fire the special counsel because he had grown up in the Reagan era and wanted to be more like Judge Robert Bork and not Saturday Night Massacre Bork. McGahn considered the president's request to be an inflection point, and he wanted to hit the brakes. When the president called McGahn a second time to follow up on the order to call the Department of Justice, McGahn recalled that the president was more direct, saying something like, "Call Rod, tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be the special counsel." McGahn recalled the president telling him, "Mueller has to go. Call me back when you do it." McGahn understood the president to be saying that the special counsel had to be removed by Rosenstein. To end the conversation with the president, McGahn left the president with the impression that McGahn would call Rosenstein. McGahn recalled that he had already said no to the president's request, and he was worn down, so he just wanted to get off the phone. McGahn recalled feeling trapped because he did not plan to follow the president's directive, but did not know that what he would say the next time the president called. McGahn decided he had to resign. He called his personal lawyer and then called his chief of staff, Annie Donaldson, to inform her of his decision. He then drove to the office to pack his belongings and submit his resignation letter. Donaldson recalled that McGahn told her the president had called and demanded he contact the Department of Justice and that the president wanted him to do something that McGahn did not want to do. McGahn told Donaldson that the president had called at least twice and in one of his calls asked, "Have you done it?" McGahn did not tell Donaldson the specifics of the president's request because he was consciously trying not to involve her in the investigation, but Donaldson inferred that the president's directive was related to the Russia investigation. Donaldson prepared to resign along with McGahn. McGahn and Chief of Staff Donaldson were about to resign for they would not fire Rosenstein, Mueller. That evening, McGahn called both Priebus and Bannon and told them that he intended to resign. McGahn recalled that after speaking with his attorney and given the nature of the president's request, he decided not to share the details of the president's request with other White House staff. Priebus recalled that McGahn said that the president had asked him to do crazy, bad word, but he thought profane word stuff. Thought McGahn did not tell him the specifics of the president's request because McGahn was trying to protect Priebus from what he did not need to know. Priebus and Bannon both urged McGahn not to quit, and McGahn ultimately returned to work that Monday and remained in his position. He had not told the president directly that he planned to resign, and when they next saw each other, the president did not ask McGahn whether he had followed through with calling Rosenstein. Around the same time, Chris Christie recalled a telephone call with the president in which the president asked what Christie thought about the president firing the special counsel. Christie advised against doing so because there was no substantive basis for the president to fire the special counsel and because the president would lose support from Republicans in Congress if he did so. Analysis. We're on page 87. And I'll put that. Page 87. Analysis. In analyzing the president's direction to McGahn to have the special counsel removed, the following evidence is relevant to the elements of obstruction of justice. Obstructive act. As with the president's firing of Comey, the attempt to remove the special counsel would qualify as an obstructive act if it would naturally obstruct the investigation and any grand jury proceedings that might flow from the inquiry. Even if the removal of the lead prosecutor would not prevent the investigation from continuing under a new appointee, a fact finder would need to consider whether the act had the potential to delay further action in the investigation, chill the actions of any replacement special counsel, or otherwise impede the investigation. The threshold question is whether the president in fact directed McGahn to have the special counsel removed. After news organizations reported that in June 2017, the president had ordered McGahn to have the special counsel removed, the president publicly disputed those accounts, and privately told McGahn that he had simply wanted McGahn to bring conflicts of interest to the Department of Justice's attention. See Volume 2, Section 2, and for infra. Some of the president's specific language that McGahn recalled from the calls is consistent with that explanation. Substantial evidence, however, supports the conclusion that the president went further and in fact directed McGahn to call Rosenstein to have the special counsel removed. Okay. McGahn to call Rosenstein to have Mueller removed. First, McGahn's clear recollection was that the president directed him to tell Rosenstein not only that conflicts existed, but also that Mueller has to go. McGahn is a credible witness with no motive to lie or exaggerate, given the position he held in the White House. McGahn spoke with the president twice and understood the directive the same way both times, making it unlikely that he misheard or misinterpreted the president's request. In response to that request, McGahn decided to quit because he did not want to participate in events that he described as akin to the Saturday Night Massacre. He called his lawyer, drove to the White House, packed up his office, prepared to submit a resignation letter with his chief of staff, told Priebus that the president had asked him to do crazy expletive and informed Priebus and Bannon that he was leaving. Those acts would be highly unusual reaction to a request to convey information to the Department of Justice. Second, in the days before the calls to McGahn, the president thought his counsel, through his counsel, had already brought the asserted conflicts of interest to the attention of the Department of Justice. Accordingly, the president had no reason to have McGahn call Rosenstein that weekend to raise conflicts issues that already had been raised. Third, the president's sense of urgency and repeated requests to McGahn to take immediate action on a weekend, you got to do this, you got to call Rod, supported McGahn's recollection that the president wanted the Department of Justice to take action to remove the special counsel. Had the president instead sought only to have the Department of Justice re-examine asserted conflicts to evaluate whether they posed an ethical bar, it would have been unnecessary to set the process in motion on a Saturday and to make repeated calls to McGahn. Finally, the president had discussed knocking out Mueller and raised conflicts of interest in a May 23, 2017 call with McGahn, reflecting that the president connected the conflicts to a plan to remove the special counsel. And in the days leading up to the June 17, 2017, the president made clear to Priebus and Bannon, who then told Ruddy that the president was considering terminating the special counsel. Also during this time period, the president reached out to Christie to get his thoughts on firing the special counsel. This evidence shows that the president was not just seeking an examination of whether conflicts existed, but instead was looking to use asserted conflicts as a way to terminate the special counsel. Asserting asserted conflicts of interest, comma, false, uh, 5:23 through 6:17. Obstruct. Nexus to official proceeding. To satisfy the proceeding requirement, it would be necessary to establish a nexus between the President's act of seeking to terminate the special counsel and a pending or foreseeable grand jury proceeding. Substantial evidence indicates that by June 17, 2017, the President knew his conduct was under investigation by a federal prosecutor who could present any evidence of federal crimes to a grand jury. On May 23, 2017, McGahn explicitly warned the President that his biggest exposure was not his act of firing Comey, but his other contacts and calls and his Ask R.E. Flynn. By early June, it was widely reported in the media that federal prosecutors had issued grand jury subpoenas in the Flynn inquiry, and that the special counsel had taken over the Flynn investigation. Oh my. Just weaving things through here. Uh-oh. That don't need to be that way. Okay, that's a little bit better. Don't go nowhere. All righty. On June 9, 2017, the special counsel's office informed the White House that investigators would be interviewing intelligence agency officials who allegedly had been asked by the president to push back against the Russia investigation. On June 14th, 2017, news outlets began reporting that the president was himself being investigated for obstruction of justice. Based on widespread reporting, the president knew that such an investigation would include his request for Comey's loyalty, his request that Comey let Flynn go, his outreach to Coates and Rogers, and his termination of Comey and statement to the Russian foreign minister that the termination had relieved great pressure related to Russia. And on June 16, 2017, the day before he directed McGahn to have special counsel removed, the president publicly acknowledged that his conduct was under investigation by a federal prosecutor, tweeting, "I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Intent. Substantial evidence indicates that the president's attempts to remove the special counsel were linked to the special counsel's oversight of investigations that included the president's conduct, and most immediately to reports that the president was being investigated for potential obstruction of justice." Before the president terminated Comey, the president considered it critically important that he was not under investigation and that the public not erroneously think he was being investigated, as described in Volume 2, Section 2D, Supra. Advisors perceived the president, while he was drafting the Comey termination letter, to be concerned more than anything else about getting out that he was not personally under investigation. When the president learned of the appointment of the special counsel on May 17, 2017, he expressed further concern about the investigation, saying, "This is the end of my presidency." The president also faulted Sessions for recusing, saying, "You were supposed to protect me." On June 14, 2017, when the Washington Post reported that the special counsel was investigating the president for obstruction of justice, the president was facing what he had wanted to avoid, a criminal investigation into his own conduct that was the subject of widespread media attention. We're on page 90 now. I gotta check the equipment and see how the XSplit is doing. Looks to be about 10:19 p.m. And yeah, we're heading into the home stretch. All right. Just let me check the whoop. Okay. Radio DJ's doing fine. And yep, the XSplit is doing fine. All right. All systems go. All rightius. On June 13, 2017, the acting Attorney General testified before Congress that no good cause for removing the special counsel existed, and the President dictated a press statement to Sanders saying he had no intention of firing the special counsel. But the next day, the media reported that the President was under investigation for obstruction of justice and that the special counsel was interviewing witnesses about events related to possible obstruction, spurring the President to write critical tweets about the special counsel's investigation. The President called McGahn at home that night and then called him on Saturday from Camp David. The evidence strongly, accordingly, indicates that the news that an obstruction investigation had been opened is what led the president to call McGahn to have the special counsel terminated. There's also evidence. The 614 Prez under investigation. Invest for obstruct. 617 Prez wants Mueller fired. And there's also evidence that the president knew that he should not have made those calls to McGahn. The president made the calls to McGahn after McGahn had specifically told the president that the White House counsel's office and McGahn himself could not be involved in the pressing conflicts claims, and that the president should consult with his personal counsel if he wished to raise conflicts. Instead of relying on his personal counsel to submit the conflicts claims, the president sought to use his official powers to remove the special counsel. And after the media reported on the president's actions, he denied that he ever ordered McGahn to have the special counsel terminated, and made repeated efforts to have McGahn deny the story, as discussed in Volume 2, Section 2.1 Infra. These denials are contrary to the evidence and suggest the president's awareness that the direction to McGahn could be seen as improper. Alrighty, on page 90 and F, the president's efforts to curtail the special counsel investigation. Overview. 2 days after the president directed McGahn to have the special counsel removed, the president made another attempt to affect the course of the Russia investigation. On June 19, 2017, the president met one-on-one with Corey Lewandowski in the Oval Office and dictated a message to be delivered to the Attorney General Sessions that would have had the effect of limiting the Russia investigation to future election interference only. 1 month later, the president met again with Lewandowski and followed up on the request to have Sessions limit the scope of the Russia investigation. Lewandowski told the president the message would be delivered soon. Hours later, the president publicly criticized Sessions in an unplanned press interview, raising questions about Sessions' job security. 1. The president asked Corey Lewandowski to deliver a message to Sessions to curtail the special counsel investigation. On June 19, 2017, 2 days after the president directed McGahn to have the special counsel removed, the president met one-on-one in the Oval Office with his former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski. Senior White House advisors described Lewandowski as a devotee of the president and said the relationship between the president and Lewandowski was close. All righty. We're at 10:25 p.m. and we're on page 91. Should resume at top. All righty, folks. Kind of leave you hanging. Yeah, heck. Tried it with McGahn. Now he's trying it with Lewandowski. They're two different actions. You know, that was one obstruction of justice attempt, and here's the other, or an additional one. All righty. With that, that's been the Saturday evening news for February 1st, episode 28 of the Mueller Report, covered in Volume 2, pages 77 through 90. And so we'll get going on that in a few days, resuming on that. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And saying arrivederci to the recorded show. And thanks for listening to this rebroadcast, if you're catching it on the rebroadcast. This has been the February 1st edition of the Saturday Evening News, episode 28 of the Mueller Report, coming to you over the voiceofsanjoaquin.org. All righty, folks, and to YouTube and Facebook viewers, thanks for watching and listening. Give you the